You are not the hero. You are the disease. And the mutation system in Plague Inc. hands you the most disturbing character progression in gaming, evolving a pathogen into something humanity cannot survive. Every mutation point you spend changes how your plague spreads, kills, and resists cure attempts. You evolve transmission through water, air, insects, and blood simultaneously. You evolve symptoms from a mild cough to total organ failure. You evolve drug resistance before scientists get close to a cure. Every decision compounds on the previous one, and the wrong mutation at the wrong time collapses your entire strategy. The Neurax worm mutation tree takes the system somewhere genuinely unsettling. The final evolutions do not just kill the host, they rewrite behavior. And what the fully evolved Neurax worm makes infected humans do to uninfected ones is something the game describes in clinical language that somehow makes it worse.
You are a monster and you are growing. Carrion's mutation system is purely visual and mechanical at the same time. Your creature absorbs biomass, increases in size, and unlocks new horrifying abilities that change how you move through and destroy each environment. Small form lets you squeeze through vents and move undetected. Large form tears through walls, flips vehicles, and pulls entire groups of soldiers into your mass simultaneously. The mutation abilities include tentacle grappling, acid spraying, invisibility, and a hydrophilic form that moves through water like a nightmare. You switch between them based on what the situation requires by shedding biomass in designated pools. The facility that introduces the electrical immunity mutation does something interesting. It redesigns its own security systems around your previous abilities, clearly assuming you will not have that one yet. First-time players hit that section and immediately understand that the game has been paying attention to what they can do.
Mutation in Darkest Dungeon 2 is not always a gift. The candle system and the path mechanic let heroes develop in genuinely unexpected directions. But the darkness this game lives in means some of those developments are scars, not upgrades. Characters collect positive and negative quirks across a run that physically alter how they function in combat. A hero who has survived enough horror might develop Bloodlust, gaining attack power as allies fall. Another might develop Rapturous, becoming stronger the closer they are to death. These mutations are not chosen, they are earned through suffering, and the results reflect that. The Altar of Hope between runs lets you invest candles into permanent unlocks that change what mutations are possible in future attempts. And there is one specific path combination that creates a character state the game was not clearly designed around. It works, it is brutally effective, and absolutely nobody intended it.
Alex Mercer does not level up. Alex Mercer consumes people and takes what they knew, what they were, and what their body was capable of. The mutation system in Prototype is biomass-funded body horror dressed as a power fantasy. Every upgrade mutates a specific part of Alex's body into something beyond human. Blade arms that extend from his forearm, a shield made from his own hardened flesh, a whip fist that stretches 30 meters, armor that pushes through his skin during combat. The visual language of every mutation communicates that something fundamental about the human form has been left behind. The critical mass mutation that allows Alex to absorb a tank and temporarily wear it as biological armor is the point most players mark as the moment the game becomes completely unhinged. But the mutation that comes after that, the Devastator abilities, escalates things in a direction that Devastator is not a strong enough word for.
Wasteland 3 hides one of the most creative mutation systems in RPG history inside a game that most people describe as a tactics game and leave it at that. The quirk system, combined with biotech skill investments, creates genuine character mutations that change the physical rules of how your rangers operate. Toaster Expert is a skill line that sounds ridiculous until it starts mutating into combat-applicable explosive knowledge that no other skill tree touches. The Cyborg tech line physically integrates machinery into your character's body across multiple levels, each one changing appearance and functions simultaneously. And the mutation interactions between two characters in the same squad, when specific quirk combinations trigger unexpected synergies, produce moments the developers clearly anticipated and tucked away for players willing to experiment. The mutation that results from maxing the weird science skill while carrying a specific item in the nuclear zone outside Colorado Springs produces a party-wide passive effect that the game never explains, and the community took months to fully document.
The board gives Jessie Faden power, and the power changes her. Control's ability upgrade system is framed as mutation. The service weapon physically reshapes itself between forms, and Jessie's telekinetic and telepathic capabilities visually alter how she moves and occupies space. The mold mutation enemies represent what happens when the oldest house's influence takes over a human body completely, and the result is used as both enemy design and environmental storytelling simultaneously. Jessie's own progression mirrors that transformation in a controlled direction. The further you push her abilities, the more the game implies she is becoming something the Bureau would have previously classified and contained. The astral plane sequences show what Jessie looks like from the outside as her mutation progresses, and what the board shows her in the final astral sequence about where that progression eventually leads is something the game presents without commentary and trusts you to sit with. Remnant 2 built its entire identity around archetypes that mutate through use and combination. The dual archetype system lets two class identities merge into something neither was alone, and the mutations available on weapons add a third layer of modification that changes how the build actually plays in combat. Weapon mutations in Remnant 2 are not stat increases, they are behavior changes. The vampiric mutation makes your weapon lifesteal on every hit. The overdrive mutation temporarily removes the cooldown on your archetype ability. The Twisting Wounds mutation turns every bullet into a stacking bleed that takes independently of your damage. Each one recontextualizes the weapon it is attached to. The secret archetype mutations, the ones not listed in any menu and only discovered by players experimenting with specific item combinations in specific locations, took the community weeks to fully map. And one of them completely breaks the intended difficulty scaling of the endgame in a way the developers have never patched out, which suggests they found it and decided it was fine.
Dead Cells is a mutation delivery system with a roguelite wrapped around it. Every run, you build a mutation combination from scratch, and the interactions between them are where the real game lives. Brutality mutations feed off bleeding. Tactics mutations amplify range damage and cooldowns. Survival mutations scale with shields and health totals. But the actual depth is in the cross-category interactions. A brutality mutation that triggers on kills, feeding a tactics mutation that activates on ability use, feeding a survival mutation that responds to damage received, creating chains that activate faster than you can consciously track them. The cursed chest mutations add a layer of gambling to the system. Taking a cursed mutation gives you a powerful upgrade and locks your health at 1 hit point until you kill a specific number of enemies. Every mutation run you take through a cursed chest is a commitment that the rest of the floor immediately starts testing. The 5 boss cells difficulty adds mutations that the base game never shows you, and the community response when the first one was discovered was immediate and loud.
Returnal does not call its system mutations. It calls them parasites and malignant items. And the distinction matters because in Returnal, the mutations are never purely beneficial, and that ambiguity is the entire point. Parasites attach to Selene and immediately show you both what they give and what they take. More damage, but consumables have a chance to harm instead of heal. Faster sprint speed, but melee attacks trigger a poison cloud that affects you as well as enemies. The risk-reward calculation on every parasite is genuinely tense because Returnal's difficulty means the downside of a bad parasite decision is not inconvenience, it is run termination. The malignant items push the system further by hiding their effect until after you pick them up. You touch a weapon with the orange glow knowing something is going to change and not knowing what. The mutation could double your damage output. It could silence your weapon entirely until you complete a challenge the item sets without telling you what the challenge is. Subject Delta is a big dotty. His plasmid system is not discovery, it is reclamation of something that was built into his body and then taken away. That framing changes how the mutation system feels compared to the first game. The plasmid combination system in BioShock 2 reaches its full expression through the dual-wield mechanic, holding a plasmid in one hand and a weapon in the other, and combining their effects in real time.
Shoot a splicer with the drill, then immediately freeze them with Winterblast to shatter the body into pieces. Electrobolt a puddle that an enemy walks through while simultaneously firing a rivet into them so the electricity conducts through the rivet into the wall behind. The mutation system rewards physics understanding as much as upgrade investment. The Minerva's Den DLC introduces a plasmid that the main game never provides access to, and the reason it was kept out of Delta's hands until that specific moment, told through environmental audio logs, recontextualizes 3 separate earlier sections of the main campaign. Moonscars gives you a mutation system built on a currency called Tears of the Moon, and the philosophy that every upgrade you take makes the world harder in a specific and intentional way. More power always costs something. That exchange is the game's core identity. The effigy system lets you slot mutation abilities into a limited number of active spaces, which means the mutation choices are not just about what you want, but about what combination fits in the space available. Every effigy mutation has a visual effect on Grey Irma's appearance, and the fully mutated late-game character looks genuinely different from the one you started with in ways that the story acknowledges. The Pale Witch boss encounter changes entirely based on which mutations you have active when you reach her. She adapts her attack patterns to counter your specific loadout, and the mutation combination that most players consider optimal for that fight actually triggers her most aggressive phase from the opening second. Cave Story hides one of gaming's most consequential mutation moments inside what looks like a simple upgrade path. The Polar Star to Spur upgrade is a clean improvement. The Blade is a raw damage tool, but the Nemesis, obtained by making a specific sacrifice at a specific moment, mutates the weapon logic of the entire game by dealing maximum damage only when you are at minimum power level. That inversion of the standard upgrade philosophy changes how you approach every remaining combat encounter. The strongest weapon in the game requires you to stay weak to use it effectively. The mutation is not in a skill tree. It is in a design philosophy that the game reveals through a single item and trusts you to understand the implications of. The true final boss is only accessible through a sequence of decisions that begins with refusing the first major weapon upgrade the game offers. Every player who finds the true ending independently feels the specific satisfaction of realizing that the mutation they avoided was the key the whole time. Burial at Sea takes Elizabeth into Rapture before the fall and hands her a vigorous-based mutation system that the base Infinite game never fully explored. Playing as Elizabeth with her specific mutation limitations, she cannot use vigors as freely as Booker, her body resists them differently, creates a stealth-focused mutation system that the original game's action emphasis never needed. The Old Man Winter vigor in her hands becomes a traversal mutation rather than a combat one. Peeping Tom creates a perception mutation that lets her see through walls and move briefly invisible, abilities that Booker's physiology never supported. The narrative reason for why Elizabeth mutates differently than Booker is answered in the audio logs, and the answer retroactively changes how you understand the vigors in the main game. The final mutation Elizabeth undergoes, not a vigor, not a plasmid, but something the Lutece particles do to a mind that has seen too many tears in reality, is told entirely through environmental visual changes in the last hour of the DLC. No cutscene, no dialogue, just the world around her slowly becoming something only she can perceive. And what she sees in the final room. 4,000 hours. That is the average documented playtime of a dedicated Binding of Isaac player before they feel like they have seen most of what the mutation system can produce. 4,000 hours. And Repentance added enough new item interactions to make veterans feel like beginners again overnight. The mutation system here is the entire game. Isaac transforms physically with every item collected. Eyes appear on his body, his tears change color and trajectory and size and behavior. His form becomes increasingly unrecognizable from the base character as the run progresses. Every item is a mutation, and every mutation interacts with every other mutation in ways that create emergent builds the developers never explicitly designed. Brimstone plus Spoonbender plus Cricket's body plus Monstro's lung charges into a tier that splits, curves, multiplies, and covers the entire room in a single release. Tech X plus the Parasite splits laser rings into bouncing tiers that loop the room permanently. C-section plus ipecac plus experimental treatment plus 2 damage scaling items creates a build that one-shots every boss in the game, including the final one before the opening animation finishes. The mutation combinations that reach what the community calls Mega Satan viability, strong enough to defeat the hardest boss in the game without taking damage, number in the thousands. And the specific combination that involves the Void item consuming 5 other mutations and transforming into something the item description does not accurately describe